Imagine if we were able to succeed in getting the Middle East put in place where we have normalization of relations. I think we can do that. Imagine what happens if we, in fact, unite all of Europe and Putin is finally put down where he cannot cause the kind of trouble he's been causing. We have enormous opportunities to make it a better world.
This is my video update from Belgrade, Serbia on this Monday morning, October the 16th. Let's talk about some news and let's start things off with the elections in Poland. The parliamentary elections that took place yesterday, and the Law and Justice Party, they got the most seats, the most votes in these elections with 37% of the vote. And the second place party, the Civic Coalition, got 32% of the vote. But it looks like it will be the Civic Coalition Party led by Donald Tusk, which will be forming the new government in Poland. Law and Justice will not be able to form a government. Actually, it's pretty certain that Law and Justice will not be able to form a government, even though they got 37% of the vote in these elections. The right-wing, what's called the right-wing Nationalist Party, the Confederation Party, they got 6.2% of the vote, and that would have been a possible coalition partner for Law and Justice, and it's just not enough to give them a majority in parliament. So the government now goes to the second place, Civic Coalition, which does have the partners, possible partners, to form a government in Poland. And so that is what we will get. We will get a Donald Tusk, globalist, neoliberal, super pro-EU government in Poland. This is what Donald Tusk said yesterday, quote, "Never in my life have I been so happy about taking seemingly second place." That is what he said. He also said that Poland won, democracy won. That is what he said. They get second place and they will be forming a government. Democracy won is what Tusk said, who, by the way, served as Poland's prime minister from 2007 to 2014. And then Tusk was appointed the European Union Council president. This is the position that Charles Michel currently holds next to Commission President Ursula von der Crazy. And that was, at one point in time, that was Donald Tusk's position at the European Union. So he is obviously super pro-EU. He is super pro-globalist, neolib, all of those good things. That is Donald Tusk. Not that I was a fan of Law and Justice, to be quite honest, but anyway, we're going to have to think of some nicknames for Mr. Tusk. I don't know if I could come up with anything as good as Walk on the Wild Side Duda, but we'll see. We will see. So that is Poland. Big elections, big results, and I think we're going to see some very big changes for Poland. This pretty much means, in my opinion, that Poland will once again go full on board with Project Ukraine. Though at this moment in time, no one is really paying attention to Project Ukraine because all eyes are on what is happening at this moment in Israel and Gaza. And Anthony Blinken, he was in the region, and he met with Egyptian officials as well as Saudi officials. I believe he actually did meet with MBS as well, though MBS kept Blinken waiting for a couple of hours, which was kind of interesting. But Blinken announced that the Rafah checkpoint, located on the border between Egypt and the Gaza Strip, will be open until 5 o'clock today. Blinken announced this following his conversation with Egyptian President al-Sisi. The U.S. Secretary of State also said that Egypt will provide humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians. Now, I'm not sure if the opening of the Rafah checkpoint, if this means that Egypt is ready to take in residents of Gaza who are being forced to flee their homes and to leave the north of Gaza and move through this checkpoint to Egypt. I don't know if this means that Egypt, which was showing resistance to, which actually said that they're not going to open up the checkpoint to Gaza residents. I don't know if this means that Egypt will now take in those Gaza residents, or if the opening of this checkpoint is only meant for UN staff, for NGOs, humanitarian workers, stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what the opening of this crossing means at the moment. But we do know that a ceasefire has been announced up until 5 o'clock today in order to allow people to move through this checkpoint. So I'm just not very clear as to what the opening of the Rafah border actually means. I guess we should give it some time and see exactly what's going on with that. So that is the statement from Blinken. So we are going to have a ceasefire for a few hours. We are going to have people moving through the Rafah checkpoint. And we have the current delay in the Israeli ground operations into Gaza, though Israel continues to hit Gaza with missiles and bombs. The ground operation appears to be delayed. The excuse yesterday was that bad weather was causing the delay. Now, I'm from Cyprus. I spend a lot of time in Cyprus. It is my home. Cyprus is a 20-minute flight to Israel, pretty much a 20-30-minute flight to Israel. So I know the region and the weather of the region very, very well. And I can tell you that bad weather is just not a thing in that region. It just doesn't really exist. Do you get rains? Yes, you do. Sometimes the rain could come down pretty hard, but it only lasts for a few hours, and rain in that region is pretty rare. Living in that region, you have a lot of warm weather, a lot of sunshine, and very little clouds. So that's just my experience living 20-30-minute flight away from Israel in Cyprus. So it's my opinion that the weather delay is an excuse. Now, what is it an excuse for? I don't know. Some people say it's an excuse because the Netanyahu government is having doubts about the ground operation. They're having doubts about the readiness of their military to enter North Gaza. Some people say that it's actually a way for Israel to prepare more troops, more resources for the ground invasion. So they're actually using the delay to assemble even more military hardware so that they can enter the north of Gaza. And of course, there are other analysts who say that this delay is due to the fact that the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu and his government, are receiving a lot of pressure and international condemnation for what is about to happen in North Gaza. So I don't know which one it is. It could be all of those factors. It could be other factors that that are leading to this ground operation delay. I've also heard that the ground operation could be delayed for a few days, and I've read reports saying that it's going to be delayed for up to a month. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we will find out. We will definitely find out what the reasoning is for the delay in the ground operation, if it even does take place. There are some analysts saying that the ground operation may not take place because of the fears and the risks involved with a ground operation. The international condemnation is starting to grow for what could be a very catastrophic operation into Gaza, and what could lead to a widening of the conflict in the region. I talked about how China has come out and they have said that a ceasefire needs to take place immediately, and they basically said that Israel is going too far with this ground operation into Gaza. We have Europe kind of trying to find its position in all of this. The EU, not Europe, the EU trying to find its position in all of this. And the EU, they have come out with a statement saying that they absolutely support Israel's right to defend itself. But they also said that the ground operation into Gaza is not such a good idea. They also said that the only solution is that of the two-state solution. The EU has condemned, they have condemned Hamas, and they ordered the release of hostages. That's another thing that the European Union said in their statement yesterday. They affirmed their support for Israel's right to self-defense within the confines of international law. And they also affirmed the EU's commitment to a lasting and sustainable peace based on the two-state solution through reinvigorated efforts in the Middle East peace process. This is a statement from the European Council. They also called for continued engagement with legitimate Palestinian authorities and their regional and international partners. So the EU is, over the past couple of days, they've been kind of dithering at their position with what's happening right now in Israel and in Gaza. You had Van der Crazy making a trip to Israel. You had Annalena Baerbock, the German foreign minister, traveling to Israel as well, to the region, and they have said that they support Israel's right to self-defense, but there was also a lot of EU officials speaking anonymously to various Collective West publications, saying that they're very nervous about Israel's ground operation into Gaza. And we now finally have the first official statements from the European Union and their position in this conflict, which, to be quite honest, does not differ much from the position of China or Russia, which is condemnation of Hamas, check. Hostages need to be released, check. The two-state solution, check. So they're very much in sync with Russia and China, to be quite honest, the European Union. And of course, they are saying that perhaps, the EU is saying perhaps, Israel's entrance into the north of Gaza is not such a good idea. That is basically what the EU is saying in this statement that they put out. I think the key difference between the European Union and Russia and China is not the actual are not is not the actual problem. I think where they differ is in the solution. That's where they differ, and actually not in the solution, the process to finding a solution. The European Union is going to side with mediation from the collective West and from the United States. That is what they're going to work towards. That is what they're going to advocate. While Russia and China and BRICS, they're basically saying that you need a two-state solution based on UN resolutions, condemn Hamas, release the hostages, don't enter the north of Gaza with this ground operation, but the mediation should now move away from the collective West and should come towards BRICS, the international community, and the United Nations. I think this is where we differ with the EU's approach and with Russia and China's approach. So that's where we are at the moment. And we have this row between Colombia and Israel. Colombia has condemned what Israel is about to do in the north of Gaza, and Israel has called out Colombia. And Colombia has now threatened to break relations with Israel. And I quote, this is what the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, said: "We do not support genocide." And we now have the Spanish social rights minister, Joanne Bolera, who accused Israel of an attempted, this is a quote, an attempted genocide in Gaza, and calls to bring Netanyahu before the International Criminal Court. So this is what Spain's social rights minister said. So you can see that in Europe, you also had a lot of protests. There was a big protest in Madrid against the ground operation in Gaza. Protests all over the world, in London as well. Protests, I believe, are taking place in Turkey and Morocco, I think. Just a lot of protests all over the world. And so you can see that the pressure against the ground operation and against Netanyahu's government is starting to build and is starting to gain a lot of momentum. So just a final thought on the war in Israel and in Gaza and the ground operation in the north of Gaza and everything that's taking place. A couple of more comments as to what's going on. FBI Director Christoforou, he is threatening that there could be copycats in the United States plotting terrorist strikes in the U.S., something like that. That's what Christoforou, the FBI director, said. He didn't mention any specific plots targeting Americans, but he just said that the police need to remain vigilant. I get very nervous when the FBI comes out with statements like this. It tells me that false flags could be in the works. I don't know. Makes me very, very nervous. Christoforou, don't trust that guy. Don't trust that guy at all. And we also have Lindsey Graham, who was, what channel was he on? Our favorite neocon, Lindsey Graham. He was on, let's see here. Meet the Press. Lindsey Graham was on Meet the Press. And he basically said that if Hezbollah gets involved in this conflict, then the U.S. is going to go to war with Iran, because Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran, and if Hezbollah gets involved, then the U.S. is going to war with Iran. That's pretty much what Lindsey Graham said on his appearance with Meet the Press. Okay, Lindsey Graham wants war with Iran, and the sky is blue. You know, I mean, okay. Hezbollah has been firing rockets into Israel from Lebanon, but many analysts say that this is just a warning from Hezbollah to Israel to not escalate in that direction. So warning shots from Hezbollah. But as of today, there are no indications that Hezbollah is looking to open up a second front in the north. But Lindsey Graham, boy, does he want war with Iran in a big way. And we had Jake Sullivan appearing on, what channel did Jake, the Wonder Boy? He also appeared on Meet the Press, NBC News. Wow, Meet the Press was busy interviewing a whole bunch of warmongers. Jake Sullivan, he appeared on Meet the Press. And the host of Meet the Press, I don't know her name, I forgot her name. They're all the same to me at this point in time. All these collective West journalists, copy paste. They're all clones of one another. Anyway, the Meet the Press host, she asked Jake Sullivan to explain himself with the comments that he made 8 days ago, saying that there was relative calm in the Middle East. And Jake Sullivan, he didn't really have a sufficient explanation. He just basically said that his statement was taken out of context. And he's like, if you listen closely to what I said that the Middle East is experiencing relative calm, but that could change at any moment. I'm paraphrasing. I'm summarizing what he said, but that's pretty much what he said. He's like, yes, I did say 8 days ago that everything is peaceful in the Middle East, but I also said that things could change. So, he's basically saying that he was taken out of context. So that was the interview from Meet the Press, and Professor Biden, the president of the United States, he made an appearance on 60 Minutes, and he basically said that the United States was so close to achieving peace in the Middle East with the normalization of ties between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and Saudi Arabia and Israel, and that was thwarted by Iran. And then said in the same sentence, he said, just think about it. He's like, but he got into whisper mode. You know, that Biden whisper mode? It's really creepy, actually. It always creeps me out when he shifts from Dark Brandon to the whispering professor. That's what we'll call him, the whispering professor Biden mode. And he was like telling 60 Minutes, he's like, we were so close. Just think about it. We were so close to getting peace in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia was going to normalize relations with Israel, and then Iran ruined it. We were so close. And just think about it. If we could have gotten peace in the Middle East and put down Putin, then everything would have been great. And he used the words, put down Putin, something like that. Put Putin down. What a terrible choice of words from Professor Biden. Usually Biden is very good with words, right? He's a wordsmith. Professor Biden. Anyway, that was just a horrible statement, to put down Putin. These guys, the worst diplomats in the world. That is the Biden White House. If you can sum up the Biden White House, the worst foreign policy team in the world, the worst diplomats in the entire world, perhaps in all of history. That's the Biden White House, and it starts from the head, from the top. That is Professor Biden, and it trickles down to Blinken and Sullivan, Austin, Cookies Newland. The one person is worse than the other when it comes to foreign policy and diplomacy. Anyway, let's shift gears and talk a bit about the forgotten conflict, that is the conflict in Ukraine. The Russians continue to annihilate the Zelensky military in the various cauldrons that they have set up. The cauldron, the area where the attention is focused on, is now in Avdiivka. And the latest reports are that the Ukraine military, they are actually bringing in reinforcements from the failed big super duper counteroffensive in the south. It looks like they're now abandoning that big counteroffensive, and they are now moving elite reinforcements into Avdiivka. And The Economist, they have a post with the title, "Now Russia is fighting to gain territory in the east of Ukraine." So everything has changed now. There is no big offensive in the southern direction. There is no Sea of Azov. There is no Tokmak. There is no Melitopol. There is no swimming and fishing in Crimea. There's no severing of the land bridge. There's no splitting up of Russian supply lines. There's none of that anymore. That is all over. Forget about it. Never happened. Never existed. We never talked about that. That was never our plan. We have now shifted to the big Russian counteroffensive, which is trying to gain territory in the east, starting with Avdiivka. That is the new narrative, everybody. That is what The Economist is writing. And Newsweek is now saying that the big offensive from Russia, and it is not a big offensive. I don't think it's a big offensive. I think what Russia is doing is what they've been doing for the past year, which is they are just grinding down the Ukraine military by creating cauldrons. Putin called it active defense. I think that's actually a very good summary from the Russian president. Active defense, and they're just drawing the Ukrainians in, and they're annihilating the Ukrainians in, and they are gaining territory. They are gaining certain positions, but it's not in order to gain territory, to make a push towards Dnipropetrovsk or Kiev or Odessa or something like that. But Newsweek, they are saying that Russia lost a battalion's worth of vehicles in 48 hours of Avdiivka assault. Now, there are a lot of reports from the Ukraine Ministry of Defense and from various social media accounts and analysts, which claim that Russia is getting annihilated in Avdiivka in their big super-duper counteroffensive. It's the big super-duper Russian fall-winter, spring-summer-fall-winter counteroffensive that is now taking place. And the Russians, according to Newsweek, according to various analysts and Ukraine Ministry of Defense, the Russians are losing hundreds, if not thousands, of men, of tanks, of artillery, you name it, vehicles. The Russians are losing it. Newsweek says a battalion's worth of vehicles lost in just 48 hours. Now, I don't see this as what's going on. I don't think this is what's happening, but it's hard to tell at this moment. Things are very difficult right now as far as getting information from Avdiivka. And I was reading Simplicius the Thinker's blog this morning, and he says that he's gone over the various photographs and videos which claim that Russia is losing a battalion's worth of vehicles and tanks and men and all of this stuff. And he says that he sees no evidence pointing to that. Are the Russians incurring losses in Avdiivka? Yes. Are the Ukrainians losing in Avdiivka as well? Yes, this is fierce fighting that is taking place, but he doesn't see anything that points to some sort of catastrophic loss from the Russian side. But that is what the Ukraine Ministry of Defense and Newsweek, that is what they are telling us. And this really reminds me, to be honest, this reminds me of, and I forgot the town's name. I forgot the town's name. You guys will remind me in the comment section down below. But remember, like 9 months ago, 10 months ago, in Donetsk, in the Donbass region in the east, the Russians were making an advance towards a town, and they actually had the low ground. The Ukraine forces had the high ground, and it was the Russian Marines, and they were making an advance towards this town. And the news was that, or the reports were that this is a catastrophe for Russia. They've lost something like 300 Marines in like one day, and this is just a massive defeat, a huge catastrophe for the Russian military. And those were the reports that were coming out. And then a few days later, the reports from the Russian Ministry of Defense said that Russia has taken this town. That was it. The Marines won. They defeated the Ukraine military, and they've taken this settlement. I forgot the name. I forgot. It's like on the tip of my tongue. It begins with a P, I think. But I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, yeah, that's what this reminds me of, what's happening in Avdiivka. The reports are that Russia is incurring catastrophic losses. And something tells me that in a week or 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to get the report from the Ministry of Defense saying that Russia has annihilated the entire Ukraine military in Avdiivka, and the town is now secure. I don't know. Maybe it'll take more than 3-4 weeks, maybe a month or 2. I don't know. That's what this reminds me of. Anyway, there's an IMF meeting that's taking place in Marrakesh, Morocco, and the Ukraine finance minister, he is in attendance, and he's looking for $48 billion from the collective West in order for the Ukraine government to pay all of the salaries. That's pretty much what he's looking for in order to keep the Ukraine economy moving, alive. That's what he's looking for. $48 billion, because we all know that the United States, the collective West, they pay for everything in Ukraine. When I mean everything, I mean everything. The salaries of government officials, the salaries of the parliament members, the salaries of first responders, the salaries of police, and firefighters, and doctors and nurses, everything. Civil servants. The entire economy of Ukraine is one big handout from the United States and the collective West. And the finance, I think he's the finance minister, the economy minister, Sergei Marchenko. He was at this IMF conference, and he basically said that it's getting very hard to get money from the collective West. 43 billion is the budget requirement in 2024. And this is what the Ukraine finance minister said. This is what he told Reuters. Speaking on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank meeting in Marrakesh, Sergei Marchenko said Kiev is having to make twice the effort right now to convince our partners to provide us with support compared to the last annual meetings in the spring. I see a lot of tiredness. I see a lot of weakness among our partners. They would like to forget about the war, but the war is still ongoing, full scale, the minister said, referring to the conflict with Russia. And so the finance minister of Ukraine basically said that the collective West is tired, and the entire focus of the world now is on the war in Israel with Hamas and Gaza and the Palestinians. He said basically that is where all the focus is on, and Ukraine is not the top priority anymore. So that is what the finance minister of Ukraine said at this globalist meeting. And we have reports coming out of Kiev which claim that the Zelensky regime is calling on all eligible Ukrainians to report for duty. All eligible Ukrainians told to report to conscription offices. The call comes as Moscow claims that Kiev's much-hyped counteroffensive has run out of steam. So not a very good sign for the Ukraine military and the Zelensky regime. And as all of this is going down in Ukraine, and you have this IMF meeting in Marrakesh, you have a very big summit taking place in China, the One Belt, One Road Summit, of which Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, they are in attendance. They traveled to Beijing in order to attend this summit, and no doubt Putin will be meeting with Xi Jinping and discussing Ukraine as well as Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians. They are going to be discussing all of these things as they meet in China and as the One Belt, One Road Summit gets underway. But before the summit actually started, Putin gave an interview to the Chinese I believe it's the English-speaking media channel, CCTV. And Putin, he said some interesting things during this interview. Putin actually said that the rules-based order the West is talking about is nonsense. He said they talk about a rules-based order. Have you ever seen those rules? No, because no one ever wrote them and no one ever agreed with anyone. From the point of view of common sense, this is nonsense. Foolishness. That is what Putin said about the rules-based order. And he also talked about China's peace proposal for the conflict in Ukraine. He said, and I quote, "We are aware, of course, of the proposal of our Chinese friends. I think they are quite realistic. At least they could be the basis for peace agreements. But unfortunately, the opposing side is unwilling to conduct any negotiations." Putin recalled how, as soon as the Russian troops moved away from Kiev, under that preliminary memorandum, Ukraine immediately threw all these agreements into the dustbin and announced that they would seek Russia's defeat and victory on the battlefield, Russia's strategic defeat. How is it possible to negotiate if they do not want to do so and have also issued a legal document that forbids these negotiations? Putin wondered, insisting that Moscow was open for talks back then and is ready now. But it was up to Kiev to declare they are ready for constructive negotiations. So that was what Putin told CCTV, and I believe that that Russia and China, they are going to put together some sort of a peace plan, a peace proposal for the war that is taking place right now in Israel and Gaza. That is what I believe is going to come out of this One Belt, One Road summit and the talks between Putin and Xi Jinping. And I think that's why Putin, during the CCTV interview, I think that's why he brought up China's peace proposal for Ukraine. I think Putin is hinting at a China-Russia peace proposal for the war in the Middle East. Anyway, let's get moving to a clown world. Now, is it true that MSNBC suspended the Muslim anchors amid the Israeli war in Gaza? Is that true? I'm not sure about that, but I have read reports saying that these anchors, I forgot their names, to be quite honest, these MSNBC anchors who are Muslim, I read somewhere that their shows did not air this week because they take a different view to what MSNBC would like for the conflict, for the war in Israel. And so their shows have been suspended or canceled. I don't know. I'm just not sure about that. Anyway, we'll find out this week, I guess, if their shows air or not. If their shows do not air this week, then it looks like they have been canceled, which is quite an interesting development. I'm looking at the faces of some of these guys. Ali Vesher, I believe, and I forgot the other guy's name. But boy, did they go hard against Russia in the conflict in Ukraine. Boy, did they spit out a lot of propaganda against Russia, a lot of fake news against Russia. And now they may be canceled by their own network because of the war in Israel and Gaza. Life is very, very interesting indeed. Anyway, the foreign minister, Dmitry Kuleba, he's making a run for Clown of the Year, but he's really far behind Annalena 560 and Justin Trudeau. But he's making a good effort to get into at least the top 3 or the top 5 for Clown of the Year. And he actually made our clown world yesterday with his McDonald's statement, and he makes our clown world today. He said to Germany that you owe us. That is what he told Germany. You owe us. Now let me provide some context here. Germany should assume responsibility for the wrongs inflicted on Ukraine during the First and Second World Wars and act accordingly. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba has insisted. The diplomat claimed that Berlin appears to have developed such sentiments only towards Jewish people and Russia. In an interview with Ukraine's 1+1 TV channel broadcast on Saturday, Kuleba said that Germany, for example, has never felt any guilt toward Ukraine, adding that he has more than once bluntly told his colleagues in Berlin, "You owe us one." The minister explained that he has been trying to awaken a sense of responsibility in Germans. To be quite honest, I'm a bit confused by Kuleba's statement. I don't know what he is talking about with "you owe us one" to Germany. Is he saying that the Bandera forces that collaborated with the NAZIs should give something to the current Zelensky government? Is that what he's talking about? Or is he saying that the Ukrainian population that was part of the Soviet Union, the Russian-speaking Ukrainians that fought the NAZIs deserve something from Germany? I'm a bit confused with this statement from Kuleba. I think he's confused himself. I'm telling you. Maybe Kuleba should talk to the Banderites in the West. I don't know. Ask them for some sort of reparations or something. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. 20% off. Use the code TheDuran20. I'm wearing my Duran long sleeve with the flag of España. And I am wearing a Duran bomber jacket. And this is the green. This is the special edition Zelensky colored Duran bomber jacket. Special edition Zelensky green bomber jacket. It also comes in black as well. So it's really nice, actually. Really, really nice. Anyway, that is the video. Take care.